quick note, while I initially played this game on original hardware, the footage here is recorded from alternate methods. So performance, graphical issues, and even how the game looks to control may not be accurate to the actual hardware. If there are any issues I noticed while playing the game normally, I'll touch on them during the video. Sometimes, charming games can be synonymous with overly simple gameplay, especially on portable platforms where companies often attempted to target young girls with aesthetics more than substance. For someone like me, they're kind of a trap. I love the cute character designs, innocent tone, and generally lighthearted nature, but mechanically they can be overly straightforward or never attempt to challenge the player in any significant way. So it's always a nice surprise when one of these games go beyond just having an appealing presentation. One that's been on the corner of my mind for nearly a decade now is The Wizard of Oz Beyond the Yellow Brick Road on the Nintendo DS. It's bright, colorful, and has a mix of anime-style humans along with cuddly renditions of the Scarecrow, Lion, and Tin Man, who's, well, a little scary. Even outside of its aesthetics, in a lot of ways, it's a graphical showpiece for the system. It has densely decorated environments with impressive character designs as well as animations. It's also a fast-moving game that runs smoothly, which is important given its tactile control scheme that differs from many other JRPGs or modern titles in general. On the bottom screen, there's a trackball that, when spun forward, will send Dorothy dashing ahead. The player will need to regularly spin it to maintain momentum or change direction. There's a real satisfaction behind flicking up to full speed, along with Dorothy leaning into her turns. There's no real precise control here, any kind of fine movement is exaggerated, making simple tasks like approaching an object a bit of an annoyance. It's an entirely touch-focused interface too, so things like camera controls are available on the screen, but can be too cumbersome to bother with. I think these two challenges likely informed the level design, resulting in long stretches of narrow paths, though that's not necessarily a bad thing. It focuses the player's movement, resulting in an experience that strangely feels similar to playing a racing game as you dash past dense backgrounds and cut around tight corners. I think part of the adrenaline rush that comes with this would have been lost by simply using the D-pad or adding additional complexities to the area design. As exciting as it can be to control, there's no variety in navigating this world. There's a lack of landmarks, which means repetitive corridors all start to blend together. There's no map either, instead making the player rely on marking road signs. A cute idea, but a bit confusing since there's a significant amount of backtracking. Frequently, activating a switch will unlock some distant door somewhere that the player likely has no idea where it's located. It's easy to get lost, and the respawning enemies can be an annoyance. However, the latter does add an extra ripple of excitement to the character's movement as you try to juke them in the narrow paths to escape their pursuit. Whether or not you find it frustrating when they catch you likely depends on where you're at in the game. While the world design is overly simple, the potential of the battle system is far from it. Initially, it looks straightforward, with each unit taking their turn to whack away at each other. What's interesting here is that the player is essentially dynamically changing the party on the fly during battle. Each turn, the player has 4 slots they can assign members to. This means Dorothy can act 4 times in a single turn, handy for casting a single target buff on an entire group. Though there's a lot more complexity here than simply spamming the best skills non-stop. There are risk factors, like only those who are actively occupying slots take damage, meaning putting out a sole combatant will result in them taking the full assault of the enemy team. There's also limitations in how these slots can be filled. Dorothy, as well as Scarecrow, simply take up 1 slot per action, while Lion takes 2 and Tin Man takes 3. Which makes the individual roles of these characters a bit more contextual than a typical JRPG. Tin Man is powerful, can strike multiple enemies at once, while also acting as a tank. On the other hand, his high cost results in greatly limiting the party's capabilities only allowing for the faster moving support units like Dorothy or Scarecrow to assist him. The limitations, together with the freedom of this hot swapping party system, creates a lot of strategic considerations. As the team learns new abilities, you'll find new ways combatants complement each other on the battlefield. This makes each turn of the more challenging fights a satisfying puzzle to solve once you have the pieces. It takes some time for all these mechanics to come into play. There are a limited number of skills early on, and new ones are locked behind optional boss battles. If you somehow pass by these encounters or are simply unprepared to challenge them, your party will be stuck with the simplest moveset, which limits their ability to fulfill their distinct roles. This means a lot of the early combat is spent spamming attack commands while doing the most basic forms of damage mitigation strategies. There is a latent weakness system here where each character excels against particular types of foes, though it's far from enough to carry the game. These initial limitations don't just make the battle system dull, it actively creates a burden on the player. There are a lot of cumbersome menus here for assigning party members to slots, selecting skills, and choosing targets. These menus make a lot of sense when the battle system is operating at full capacity, but bogs down the early encounters when you don't have as many options. The developers actually do try to address this through pre-assigning recommended actions. It will automate the attack commands, even targeting the foe a combatant is most effective against. However, if someone is hurt or has a status ailment, the game will automatically set up an action to heal them using an item or skill. Because some characters can often not be actively participating in battle, healing them can be unnecessary or not urgent. Yet every turn it will try to heal them unless you reassign their action. If you accidentally let them execute that command, it's doubly frustrating since magic points are fairly precious and a tight economy makes items valuable. Doing those optional battles to learn new skills pays off. The challenge level of the back third of the game certainly demands fully interacting with these systems, but given this is a 20-hour RPG, that means you have fairly limited time to enjoy the complexities of it. Once you start figuring out your favorite strategies, the credits are rolling. Yet the title's short length means that, despite the early struggles, the novelty of its style can carry it pretty far. There's limited story development, although what is there is really cute, with a storybook presentation. There's not a lot of direct dialogue between characters, however the narration does a great job of fleshing out relationships in a compact as well as charming fashion. It's a tale that's all about the thrill of exploring, meeting new people, along with building relationships with your perceived enemies. It's not uncommon for a boss encounter to be followed by the party sitting down and having dinner with them. While there's not much substance, the tone does a lot for filling in the holes. In general, it's a game that feels like it's full of gaps as you play through it, with significant stretches of indistinct environments, a battle system that takes hours to come into its own, in addition to a story that only focuses on the highlights of the adventure. Yet when it's all over, you can look back at the pieces the Wizard of Oz Beyond the Yellow Brick Road lays out and see a complete picture of what could have been. Thanks for watching! One Controller Port has a focus on games with a notable place in history, as well as titles with a distinct take on a franchise or genre. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and visit onecontrollerport.com for videos, podcasts, streams, and articles. You can also follow me on Twitter and Twitch via the links in the description.